I'm sure many of you have that well-meaning parent or spouse or coworker that says, hey, you're working too much. You got to take it down a notch or you're going to burn yourself out.
You got to relax a little.
But this idea of work-life balance that everyone is always sort of looking for, but it's like some ancient mystical thing like the Ark of the Covenant you've heard about but no one can actually find. Let's talk about this idea. Is work-life balance actually real? And if so, how can we find it? So before we jump into this video, I want to say on the front end, if you could please hit the like button and the subscribe button and the little bell, it's going to push this video out to more teachers. What we're trying to do is take what we're doing here, this free video, and bless as many people as we possibly can. So if you could do that, that would be awesome. If you need anything else from us, you can go right to realrapwithreynolds.com and find everything there. But let's talk about balance. I'm going to talk about 3 tips for work-life balance. There's a million things I could talk about with this. We could really get into the weeds, and maybe that becomes a workshop at some point. But for right now, I'm going to just talk about 3 things that work for me. This is not necessarily a how-to. This is just like a how I do. The first thing I want to address is this idea that I'm just going to say from the jump. Work-life balance is a myth.
Like Bigfoot.
Man, there's no way it could be real. There's no way that your life, when you look at it, could be perfectly and magically in balance all the time. Most folks, if you list what is important to you, right? So let's start there. If you list what's important to you, it might be God, it might be your kids, it could be your spouse, it could be your hobbies, your work, right? Like most people, studies show, have about 12 points of interest in their life. That means there's 12 different things that you would label as important in your life. If you were to give every single one of those 12 things, we're just going with the average here, right? 12 things an equal amount of time, that would be only 1.3 hours a day, right? So if we're saying you get 8 hours of sleep, you have 16 hours left over, 16 divided by 12, 1.3.
Oh, the math checks out.
You're gonna put 1.3 hours into your work, into your kids, into your friends. That is not doable because that's giving 8% of your waking hours away to each thing that you're interested in. And so if we're talking about like being a teacher, when you start teaching, there is going to be more work on the front end than a veteran teacher. So sometimes those well-meaning folks that have been in the game for 10, 20, 30 years, right, in the classroom, and they're saying, take your weekends off. Don't bring your work home. That's because they've created, whether they have everything planned out already or a change for them is so simple, right? They've already done it for a dozen or more years. It's going to be easier for them. Anything that you start doing just takes more time, right? If you are just learning how to cook, if you're learning how to work out and you're going to the gym, if you're being a teacher, if you're parenting, in the beginning, it always takes so much more time, right? And that's okay. It is par for the course. It doesn't mean it has to be stressful. It doesn't mean it has to be horrible. I have said many times that I used to go to school at about 6 a.m. and I wouldn't get done till about 7 or 7:30 at night. But I enjoyed it. Those after school hours when no one's in the building. It feels like that scene from The Breakfast Club where everyone's just like running through the building, like acting a fool because you can do it because no one's around. Started taking my kids to the gym this year with me, and when we go to the gym in the beginning, there was a lot of like, okay, we have to come up with a rhythm of what we're doing. We have to come up with what days we're working on what sort of body parts.
Looking swole.
I had to walk them through like how to use machine. There was this big learning curve in the beginning. Now when we go to the gym, we go in, we know what day of week it is, we know what section of the body we're working on that week, we know all of the things, right? Now it's so much easier to do what needs to get done, but that's because we have practiced it, right? I'm sure any of you out there that cook, it took you a long time to make food in the beginning when you started cooking.
What did you throw in there? Oregano? No? What, rosemary?
But now it takes less time because you know what you're doing and you can do it a little bit more effortlessly.
You are one of us now, we?
So with this idea of work-life balance being a myth, Lisa Nichols has this really great quote where she says that we don't seek balance, we seek harmony. And I love that because what in that, it means that we are giving not equal time, attention, and energy to every single thing that we do, but we're giving the appropriate amount of time, attention, and energy. And some things, depending on the season of your life, are going to take more time. But as we in Philly, here all the Sixers fans know that we trust the process. And if you trust the process, you know that putting in the hard work now is going to pay you dividends later. Seeking harmony. How do we do that? Seeking harmony, I think, is in large part mastering your time, and it is getting rid of distraction to the largest degree possible. Now, this could be a whole class, but I really love when Robin Sharma, the author of the 5 a.m. Club, says, an addiction to distraction is the death of creative production. That means that when you're in the flow, right, you get in that moment, you're in your classroom, you're at home, you're zoned in, you're creating the perfect lesson plan, the perfect meal, the perfect party, the perfect get together with your friends. If you keep getting distracted, each distraction takes about 21 minutes.
Did you just make that up?
This is what the science says. It's not just like Reynolds making things up. 21 minutes to get back in the flow, right? So if we can find pockets of time, I do this thing. I took it from a book called The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma, where it is the tight bubble of total focus. And my kids and my wife and everyone knows in my house that when dad's in his office and I have a sign on the door that says tight bubble of total focus, that no one is to distract me. I work in 60 to 90 minute chunks at a time before I take a break. I set a timer on my phone so that I know when that time is up and that I should take a break. So here's why that's important to me. When I can chunk out my time so that I'm doing what I have in front of me and that's all, I'm doing what Jesse Itzler calls being where your feet are, right? So when I'm doing work for school, I'm only doing work for school. I am not on my phone. I am not petting my dog. I am not listening to what happened in my kid's day that day. I'm just doing work. Then when I get home, I'm only with my kids, right? There's a time period that when my daughter comes home from school at 2:30 and I get back to the house, like whether from wherever I am working from that day, I get back to my house. I spend that first bit of time from about 2:30 to 3 o'clock just listening to my daughter. We just talk about what happened in her day and what's going on and what she was thinking about and what she wants to do tonight. And then we have pockets of time where we're like just all eating dinner together or we're watching a show together or something like that. But we are just being together. We're only doing that thing. I'm not half working, half answering emails, half hanging out with my kids. That's a lot of halves. I'm an English teacher, not a math teacher.
Does anyone understand math?
But you're just doing the thing that's right in front of you. And the third thing I'm going to leave you with is this idea of time management. This is a huge topic, but to really pare it down, I want to give you a couple of ideas I think are really going to bring you value and that you can work with. When thinking about time management, the first thing I think about is what can be delegated and what can be eliminated. So when I started making YouTube videos, it would take me hours, if not days, to edit a video. But right now, this video is not being edited by me. This video is edited by Jeremy.
Who?
Who's my incredible editor. I record stuff, I send it to him, and then he edits it and gets it back to me so that I can free myself up to do other work, right? So that's delegating work to someone else. So many of you are not on YouTube, right? So how does delegation work in your own life? In your classroom, can you delegate tasks so you're not doing everything? Can students grade some stuff for you? Can they organize stuff? Can they clean stuff? Can they help you take care of your collective classroom environment so that you are not doing everything? Similarly, at home, who lives in your house? I'll tell you, my kids, both of my kids, they got the vid. My wife got it also. But my kids got it first, and when my kids got it, it was very quiet in the downstairs of our house. Like everyone was upstairs on YouTube all day. We realized though quickly that although we loved the peace and quiet, how much our kids did in a given day, from walking the dog multiple times a day to feeding the dog to vacuuming or whatever other tasks they had around the house. Like we were kind of taken aback by, wow, our kids really give a lot to be a part of what we call Team Reynolds. And it helped us to really appreciate the fact that there is a lot of delegation going on in the household. So if you have other people you're living with, whether it's a spouse, your kids, or roommate, who could take over some of these tasks so that you're not doing so much. The other thing is eliminating tasks. I'll tell you that a couple of years ago, and I'm not affiliated with them in any sort of like sponsorship way, we started doing HelloFresh. And HelloFresh is a service that you like order like meals basically online. They send you all the ingredients, you still have to cook it, but it stops you from having to think so much about what you want to eat this week and then thinking that up and then having to go to the food store and get all of the ingredients and then coming home and putting all the groceries away. All the stuff, it just takes so long, right? This was a game changer for us. And then one of the things that we took away from the pandemic was this idea of like, just driving to the store and they put the stuff in the back of your car. Unless I want to walk through a store, unless I want to go to Target and just walk around and see what they got, that's different. But the food store, I never want to walk around. I'm not like inspired walking around the food store. So I call ahead, whether it's Instacart or your local food store has like a shopping service. It just is so much easier for me to plug it all in. I pull up, they put everything in the back of my car and I drive home. That's like an hour or two off of my schedule. Now, real quick, I will say there were times when I liked food shopping. I'd go on Sunday nights, I'd listen to an entire podcast while I was there. It was time away that was just for dad, and I'd just walk around and I really, really enjoyed it. But now I need that time back. So in eliminating that, I'm literally buying time back for myself to do things that I want to do or that I need to do. And the last thing is, look, one of the things we started doing in the last couple of years is my wife and I have a meeting. We have a meeting every morning to sort of like figure out what's happening that day, but there's a master meeting on Sundays. We do it at Sunday nights. We just sit down and talk about what should take place this week. And one of our rules of thumb, and this comes right from the Not So Secret Wife, it is not my idea, is it's only 2 or 3 big tasks a day. I have a tendency to put 20 tasks on my own, like big, heavy things that I need to do that day.
And how's that going for you?
I'll tell you what, it's not a good move because I always get frustrated because I didn't get through all of them because I only got through 5 and I'm like, there were 15 more. And my wife will look at the list and say, okay, no, these are the 2 to 3 things you should be doing in a given day. These are the days that we're going to work on those. She has 2 to 3 things. And then you are getting so much more done. You're less stressed and you're only working within the tight bubble of total focus. I really like saying that, tight bubble of total focus. It's so fun. That was really dumb.
That's a bingo.
In that, one of the things I learned was that I am not a trusted source for my own schedule, that I need help. So maybe finding someone you can bounce ideas off of and things of that nature. I'll tell you what, real quick, lesson planning and how much time that can take. If I was starting out now and I had access to a Facebook group like ours, and if you're not part of it, you should. It is Real Rap with Reynolds Teacher Talk on Facebook. I would 100% be in that Facebook group looking for other people that sound like they know what they're doing, that are feeling about education the same way that I am, and I'd make a group. Like if you are a middle school math teacher, why wouldn't you just lesson plan for an hour a week with other middle school teachers and bounce ideas off one another, find ways to sprinkle magic on what you're doing, and then you're not creating something from nothing, which takes so much longer than working together as a team, as a group, and getting inspired from one another. That is one simple way to buy back your time, to sort of delegate some of those responsibilities, and to work as a team to get the dream. So that's it for this video, gang. There's so much more I could talk about with this, but I'm gonna limit myself to that much. If you need anything else from us, if you feel like you need personal attention, you can go right to realrapwithreynolds.com. You can sign up for a mentoring session with me where we can do a phone call for an hour and I can help you through anything in your teacher life that you're kind of going through. And then don't forget to join us on Sunday nights, 1 p.m. Eastern time on Sundays. We have Sunday Night Teacher Talk where you can show up and ask any question that you want about teaching or the life of teaching or anything else you really got going on. Thanks so much, everyone. We'll see you later. Peace.